Imagine being stuck in a situation that your parents allowed and you're not happy and you feel like you're being abused by your spouse. You thought that this was something you wanted and you thought you were marrying your soulmate, only to find out 1 to 2 years later that you both are different and both want different things in life. Now you are unable to go to school to further yourself because you have a young child that you must take care of full time because you do not have the money for daycare so that you may go to school to further yourself. You feel hopeless and embarrassed because you thought this is what you wanted and your parents finally gave consent for this relationship. Many people do not know that South Dakota state laws allow individuals as young as the age of 16 to get married with parental consent. Keep in mind that federal law does not allow an individual until the age of 18 to buy a pack of cigarettes and doesn't allow an individual until the age of 21 to buy alcohol. Even though adolescents at this age are more interested in sexual and romantic relationships, is it appropriate to entertain the idea of marriage? Why would parents allow their children to marry at such a young age? Young adolescents at the age of 16 should not be able to marry under South Dakota law, even with parental consent, due to the underdevelopment of thinking and rationalizing processes and the negative outcomes that many of these teen marriages end up facing. One reason for this change in law is the need for education. Many jobs that are stable and may keep people comfortable in life require a college education. Many Americans are faced with the challenges of raising a family without facing poverty. One way to avoid poverty is to get a college education. Getting an education may be hard for young adolescents in a marriage to focus. If they're married, they're wanting to put their stuff on hold. Sandy Sandberg gave a talk in Washington, D.C., and gave an example that women may put career goals behind them to start a family, and that young men may also put career goals aside to maintain a stable job to support that family. The next thing to consider with teen marriages is an increase in divorce rates and negative outcomes on potential children of the marriage. Gordon B. Dahl of the University of California, San Diego, and National Bureau of Economic Research wrote that women who marry while in their teens are 2/3 more likely to divorce within 15 years of their wedding compared to women who postpone marriage. In addition, women who marry in their teens tend to have more children and have those children at earlier age. There is also a need to understand the potential complications of teenage pregnancy that could result from having children early. Teens that marry at an early age may feel compelled to carry out marital duties like having children and starting a family. Having a children at an early age can be dangerous for a female, according to Eugene Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. Pregnant teens are more likely to develop high blood pressure and anemia, which is a lack of red blood cells, and go into labor earlier than women who are older. A scientific outlook of underage marriage could be that irrational decision making could be due to underdeveloped thought processes at the age of 16. Robert Hedaya, doctor of Georgetown University, describes an article for Psychology Today that teens do not have a fully developed prefrontal cortex until the age of 21. He describes the prefrontal cortex as having a close relationship to the limbic system, which acts as our emotional brain. If there is no full development of relationships between logic and emotion, that could give higher incident of teens acting out on acute emotional decisions rather than making long-term logical decisions. Some may argue that underage adolescents should have a right to marry because it is reasonable to escape a dangerous living situation or homelessness. But what would happen if that individual was to marry a much older person that was out to harm the individual and become a potential abuser? Many young women may not be able to escape a potential abusive or situation after the marriage. It may not be easy to imagine a young man or woman stuck in a relationship of abuse and control with no way to leave except divorce at such a young age. Parents need to educate themselves and keep in mind the potential negative outcomes of teen marriage before providing consent. Many parents wish the best for their child and would refrain from putting them in a harmful situation. Many residents of South Dakota should re-educate the state system on what could happen with a teen marriage. If lawmakers could see the potential negative outcomes of getting married at such a young age, then maybe they would change the state law requirement to the age of 18 or older to get married. This may help many young teens avoid lifelong changing negative outcomes.